1983 when I sold my first piece for 700 rupees.
Wow.
At that time, someone I said, okay, fine, very good. Then the next one went for 1,500. Then another one for 2,000. Then architect Naushad Talati noticed, and he gave me my first commission piece outside the Jewel of India at Nehru Center.
Correct.
That was a 9-foot tall piece. I made it single-handedly at that time. No helpers, nothing. Creativity needs patience, time, and a lot of persistence. If you have that drive, you will work out. But if you're constantly thinking only of making money and making things that will sell, then you're killing your creativity completely there itself.
What is your vision? Like, do you like see yourself going there, reaching a destination, or it's just the process that matters? We are in studio of architect Arzan Khambatta. He has 40 years plus of experience in making sculptures, paintings for various public figures and various celebrities. Also, we welcome him today on our Serial Designer, where he's going to give insights on how to make a career out of it, being a sculptor and an artist for over decades. We are in his factory today and we are going to introduce you to the same. You've been an accomplished sculpture artist, painter for like 40 years now. What is your humble beginning like?
So
Where did you
basically,
start?
I was interested in art right from the beginning. I was very bad at studies. All my textbooks, all my notebooks had more drawings than anything else. And right from the beginning, even in the art class, in the school, I never used to do what the art teacher told me. I would only do what I wanted. And they knew that right from the beginning. My parents also recognized that. So they didn't push me much, you know. I mean, bad marks and all that was a part of the game all through, from first to 10th and everything and all that. And then after the 10th, I grew fascinated with scrap metal.
Alright.
I saw scrap metal and I felt that every shape that I found, every piece that I found told a story. And I started piecing those stories together and welding them together into sculptures. And I called them sculptures at that time. That's how it began.
Okay.
Completely as a hobby, not with the intention of selling a single piece. I had no idea it would be my full-time profession one day. Just went on welding. People started noticing. People started asking, will you make this for me? Then slowly the first show happened and that's how it began. Very, very gradual, natural climb from just welding the first two pieces together till today, you know.
Wow. And so when you are working, you worked throughout these years, you must have had a lot of interns working under you, people working under you. So what do you want to, tell these students out there, aspiring aspiring designers, students out there, that if they want to take up this field, what is required in them as an artist?
So basically, I think number one, I find that students who come out of colleges today, students who want to pursue art, they are in a tremendous hurry.
Yes.
They don't realize that it's taken ages to sell the first piece. It's a full long process. They want to jump into the first year only and start selling stuff and start having exhibitions and all that. As a result, they damage their own careers. Okay, so number one, I don't have so many interns because my way of working is so erratic. I'm here for an hour. I might go away. I might sit outside. I might sit inside sketching and all that. And I can't give constant supervision to interns and all that. So my thing to students who want to pursue art is, you need not have an education in art. What you need to do is you need to have a tremendous want to learn. Even all my people outside that you see now, the helpers, the welders, they started off as normal welders and helpers. Then they became karigars and then they became craftsmen. Slowly after learning the craft, I can now give them more work than what I used to before. So I think the only one thing that the person needs to have to pursue in art or whatever creative is to be patient, to be persistent, and should be having the drive to do stuff and not expect results at every given point of time. There will not be results every time. You cannot expect laurels and accolades pouring over every work you do. It's a struggle and you have to go through that. And that's when they realize that it's going to take time. And so many people give up. There are amount of students who ask me, how will I be able to survive if I do art? I don't have any question for that. You have to keep on persisting. There is no guarantee also. Even after 10 years, you might not succeed.
Correct.
Or you might just start selling in 2 years. If your work is good, if the way you approach your art is good, then it will happen. It's like in every field. I mean, there is no set formula for this.
So exactly, when you compare it to other fields, okay, there are MBA graduates, there are these doctors. articleships they do, they start earning within like 1 year, 2 years, and hence these artists are very impatient. Okay, when will we start selling art? And that's why.
True.
So even when they're in college, they're trained in also that way that
Yes.
you need to
Yes.
give it time. But
Correct.
then, as you said, the generation itself lacks
Yes.
that kind of
True.
patience.
True.
So again, coming to patience and money now, then how did you work out your financials at that time?
Number one, I didn't pay any attention to financials at all.
All right.
I was not making it for selling. I was just practicing. I was just making pieces, getting them home. My dad's an architect. His architect friends would come over and they would see, and they started saying, is this for sale? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm not selling it. He's saying, no, I want to buy it. And this was in 1983 when I sold my first piece for 700 rupees.
Wow.
At that time. I said, okay, fine, very good. Then the next one went for 1,500. Then another one for 2,000. Then architect Naushad Talati noticed, and he gave me my first commission piece outside the Jewel of India at Nehru Center.
Correct.
That was a 9-foot tall piece. I made it single-handedly at that time. No helpers, nothing.
Wow.
And it was a hobby. So number one, people don't believe me, but even today, I don't pay attention to the financials. The growth has been very gradual and very steady. In the first show, my pieces started at some 1,000 rupees to 25,000 was the maximum. Now, of course, they're much more. So slowly, as you gain popularity, as your work reaches hundreds of people, you slowly graduate into the pricing.
So in
you
your
cannot
case,
emerge from an
yeah.
art college and say, this one is selling at this, so I'll sell it at a little lower. It cannot start. It has
That's
to start
happening.
from scratch,
Yeah.
that way.
So this is what happens. Like, I can make this for cheaper. So I think art cannot be put into this category of
Correct.
finances.
True. Of
and,
course not. Of course
having
not.
commissions
Of
and
course,
all this.
yes.
Yeah.
So a lot of I had one artist who was working in clay recently. He's saying, should I pursue this? Will I be able to make a career out of this? How do I answer that?
Yeah.
There is no guarantee at all. Creativity needs patience, time, and a lot of persistence. If you have that drive, you will work out. But if you're constantly thinking only of making money and making things that will sell, then you're killing your creativity completely there itself,
I think it just diverts the way you're approaching to that design.
Completely, yes.
Okay, so yeah, coming to design now. Say you've got a brief. So do you like get a brief and from your client? So how do you take this design process forward? Like, what kind of a brief do you get?
So basically, like I said, 99% of my works are commission works where a person shows me the site and I design for it.
All right.
So now, for example, there's a university I'm designing for. They show me the space. They've given me a detailed brief of what the sculpture should be about.
Okay.
A detailed brief of what values they want to bring and all that. So accordingly, I sketch. There are some who tell me, like for example, that any entranceway of the building, they want a Ganesha. So then I know that I don't have to think anything outside the Ganesha, but then I have to think as to how to do the Ganesha in ways that I've not done before. So there are some people who completely leave it to me. There are some people who give me small pointers, like for example, they don't want female figures, or they don't want any animals, or they don't want half figures and stuff like that. Okay, so that all these parameters get me to the design faster. If someone shows me a space and say, do whatever you want, fine, I'll do whatever I want. But then there is a very big chance that that's not what he's looking for.
Correct.
So that doesn't hamper my creativity at all. All these pointers guide me to the design faster. People say that when the client gives you so many parameters, it hampers your creativity. Not at all. It just gets you closer to the design faster. For example, if he shows me a space and says, okay, no animals, fine. So that thought is gone. Okay, no abstracts, fine. Then I know it's a human figure. No females, then I know it's a male figure. You come closer to the design that way.
Correct.
So it helps a lot. But there are some clients who leave it entirely to me. There are some clients who tell me they want this particular subject. Like for example, I was shown a wall and they wanted running horses. I'm okay with that, fine. Then I design the horses that way. I reach the design faster because then I'm not thinking of 100 other things to put there.
Correct.
It
streamlines your process.
It's what you do within what they give that counts.
Yeah.
It doesn't hamper the creativity at all. Not at all.
What about clients who come with you with Pinterest images that can you build this for me?
So
how do you deal with that?
So that is happening a lot these days.
Yeah,
I don't
because
encourage that.
I mean, that Pinterest exposure, they just treat this as their DIY.
Correct.
And they're like, this is exactly what we want. Like they have 100 pictures on their boards.
Obviously, there are people who want good things in their house, but they don't know how to get good art in their house. Good art is original art. Okay, they might see it, they might do that, but they don't realize that there are artists who are capable of doing far better than that. They can give it as a pointer that this is something like what I want, or this is approximately like what I want. But to make it exact, they can go to a fabricator and get it done. I don't encourage that sort of stuff.
Because
You know,
you are an artist who has 40 years of experience.
Correct.
I think might as well use that experience than just
of course,
your,
yes, and
your
people
way
who
of
realize that
working.
do that.
Yeah.
They don't show me images. There are people, the clients who are so intelligent who say, I have something in mind, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh,
This
wow.
is something like what I want, but I will not show you. You design it yourself. So that works much better.
Correct.
Much better. And every time I do stuff which is new and fresh and all that, why would I want to refer to Pinterest and things like that, you know?
Correct.
And AI is going another level now, where people are doing designs and showing, can you do this and can you do that and all that, you know?
Yeah, because AI is basically just they are prompting that
Correct.
this is what exactly I
Correct,
want,
correct,
and they
correct.
come up with
Yes,
variations and they're
yes,
showing it to you.
yes, yes.
So you have
Of course,
had clients like
it's
that.
a brilliant, no, till now I have not got. It's a brilliant tool if you know how to use it.
Correct.
But don't use it to completely sort of not use your mind at all and let that will only think on behalf of you, no? Not,
Especially when it comes to a sketch, a
Yes,
sculpture,
correct,
it works
correct.
pretty well.
Yes.
All right. What about because you're talking about the design process, what about the client asking you something to go about something and the budget is not really fitting? Because I'll tell you what, being honest, being in this artist field, it's very difficult to make a career out of it. So how do you deal with the client and its financials, like when he'll pay you the money or something of that sort?
So basically, estimates are a big
Estimates.
difficulty and budgets are difficult.
Yeah.
Every client who normally comes at the end of a project. Mostly he has spent all the money on his interior, on the
Exactly.
house, or the architecture, and then there is nothing left over for
So
the art.
art comes like an afterthought to them.
Absolutely like an afterthought, which is very sad because that requires as much importance as the main building itself or the main architecture or the design itself. So there is a struggle, but you have to take it in your stride. You can't say, okay, fine, I have an X amount. I have an X amount in mind. My sculptures cost 2X. I have to try and reach that amount and do the best I can within that. Of course, it has to be reasonably large. It cannot be something ridiculously small where I say I
if
cannot
it's an
do it.
afterthought, he's
Yeah.
reserved like maybe he's already gone over budget.
Oh, he's always gone over budget. Always
yeah.
gone over budget. Interiors, architecture always
Yeah.
goes over budget. There are only very few architects, few project managers who have that designated amount right from the beginning. And they say, okay, fine, this is what I intend to do and this you can use that, which is good. But working within a budget is always a struggle. It's always a struggle. The biggest of the people bargain with you. The biggest of the people say they don't have budgets and all that. But if that is the norm and that is the way, you have to make use of that. You have to make use of that. Yeah. A very good way of doing it is to ask the client upfront as to what do they have a budget in mind. If they have a budget in mind, you can sort of decide then and there whether you want to continue with the project or you want to drop it off. So you don't even waste your time designing.
Perfect.
So that is brilliant. It sounds very money minded, which is not, because I'm saving my time designing and then finding out that there is nowhere near his budget. So I asked them, I said, do you have an idea of what it is and all that? They say no. Okay, fine. Then I tell them a figure. After I tell them a figure, they say no, this is too big. So I said, then what is it that you want? If you give me a figure, I will decide whether I can do a design that fits that figure or it doesn't. Today, like you're talking of Pinterest and Instagram and all that, people are doing in Europe and USA and everywhere, they're doing huge, massive sculptures out in the open. So many people come and say, why don't you make something like this? Where are people ready to sponsor things like this?
Yeah.
If you see the kind of money that was spent
The
on the
public
Chicago beam,
interventions
the
that
beam,
happened,
the
yeah.
Cloud Gate, the Anish Gate, if you see the kind of budget it had, we don't have that kind of budgets for full buildings over here.
Correct.
So how do you do that kind of work? So consider this, the way Indian contemporary art is getting momentum in the world, in those budgets and in those constraints we are producing this. So can you
Yeah.
imagine what we would produce if the clients
Yeah.
would go absolutely
Bizarre.
and say, okay, fine, create what you want, irrespective of the budget,
But because Indians hai to budget bhi hai, so that it's of course it's a
it's something you have to use it.
Yeah,
If it's something you have to make do with it, you cannot say this is the price and I will not work under it and all that. I mean, maybe if you're lucky, it can pull it off. You can pull it off, but mostly you're not. You have to struggle with that, you know.
Correct. Also, a little bit on networking, like because our field is very, it's a quite close knit field, at least for designers. So, how do you deal with networking? Do you like network with people? How do you get clients?
I don't network at all. I don't network at all. I don't take my album and my photographs to some architect saying this is the work I do, give me work and all
Correct.
that. It has all happened very naturally.
Yeah.
That sometimes I have work, sometimes I don't have work. If I don't have work, I'm making things for my own show, which will be 3 to 5 years from now or whenever. So there is zero networking. Okay. I go to events, I go there, I do not talk about my work. If someone approaches me and asks me, will you make this for me? Of course I will. Of course I will. So it's only by word of mouth.
That you have.
People ask me, at one point of time, 2004 to 2012, there used to be a lot of flashlights and a lot of things written about artists all through. So people said, then your business must have grown. It doesn't grow. The art buying audience is very clever. Just because your photograph appears in the paper, no one's going to give you that price and no one's going to give you work that way.
No, like,
your work,
say once you featured,
your work will only happen seeing your past work. So only your work speaks for you. Only your work will push you forward. No amount of sweet talk and networking works, and I don't do that also.
No, because nowadays artists, designers, at least the younger ones, they have their social media pages on. They want to.
It's a different breed altogether. Yes, it's a different breed.
It's a different
I wonder how it must be translating into business, but for me it doesn't. I mean, I put an Instagram post once in a while.
I think you're very blunt about that. That it doesn't work this way.
I don't think it works. I don't think it works. I mean, no one wants to buy a sculpture just because you're there on Instagram. So, someone who's actually looking forward to commissioning a piece, and then he sees something and he says, okay, oh wow, I had to get this done. Let me call him and all that. So that reminder may be working, but no one sort of goes all out only because he sees something somewhere.
But I think word of mouth works best.
Word of mouth and the works which are out in public places. Like right now, touch wood, I can point out buildings left and right which have my works in residences, in lobbies, outside in the open, on traffic islands and all that. So it's so easy for someone. Have you seen this? Okay, I've done this. So, it's like that. If someone says, where have you done this work and all that? So I can point out. Like right now, I've got about 8 to 10 projects on paper.
Correct.
Designing. So right now, my work in the studio is minimum. So I'm concentrating more on the show. But right now, my time is going in the designing and all that. So that's what I was doing before you came also. I have to submit designs and then put it forward, estimation, so and so, so and so. So that is the...
of the work.
Right now, that is what is occupying my time more.
All right. Pointing towards your design process now. So first, do you sketch first and then you go forward, make a bill of quantities? Like, what is the process?
No bill of quantities as such. Okay. First, I see the site.
Okay.
I understand what the client is about. What he is, whether it's a hotel or a residence or a commercial complex. Depending on that, I decide the size, the scale, the materials. If I can get a budget from them, superb. Otherwise, if they say just do whatever you want and design and then we'll see. So then I sketch it out. Right. So the first thing is the sketch which goes there, and then the whole process starts. If he says, okay, I give them a ballpark figure of the pieces that I've done previously, and I tell them how much they cost, so they know what price bracket they're looking at. Most of the art buyers know my price bracket. They know that. They realize that this is, it won't come under this, X amount. So they know, and they approach me, fine. Then it goes smoothly. Then it's just a matter of little bargaining here and there and setting a price and all that, So sketching first, meeting the client first, seeing the space first, then giving a sketch, and then taking it forward.
Taking it forward, all right. Again, when does money come? Like supposing for us interior designers, architects, we have these certain stages of money. So honestly, when does your money, like a very young sculpture artist, when does his money come, at what stage?
Well, I used to take 50% advance, 50% on completion, as simple as that. Okay. But nowadays, because the works are big and you realize that 50% advance won't work, you take an interim payment once again. That's just a matter of the accounting team. I normally don't do it. I set a price to the piece because I know what the value is and all that. And then everything is taken over by the accounts.
Because, young artists always have these questions that, when is a good time to ask for interim
I think right from the beginning, I have taken a 50% advance. Right from the beginning. There are some companies who say we only give 20, fine. Adjust in that. It's okay. Whatever.
How do you see this, field coming forward? Like, how do you see it getting evolved? Any opinions on how art and sculpture, how India is taking art and sculpture? Because pehle itna curation nahi hua karta tha. And now suddenly people are into all these things. So how do you see it evolve?
So number one, first of all, it's evolved right from the time I started till now.
Correct.
Design awareness that sculptures need to be put in a place, awareness that art needs to be a part of any project has definitely grown, and it's come to that.
Yeah,
You
it's
see our
grown.
airports now. Our airports are full of art and all that. No other airport in the world has our kind of art that we've got. Our new airport is also going to be filled with art. Beautiful art. I'm already seeing the process and all that. And it's going to be fantastic,
Yes.
And so that awareness is already growing, but what is not grown is the value of design. People don't take the value of a sketch as much as they would abroad. They don't realize that the artist's effort, his vision, his creativity, everything has gone in that one little sketch. I hear so many people saying, "Arey, ek paper pe itna kar diya, so what's the big deal?" But it is all that expertise from his past that has come on that paper for what he's proposing to you. So that value of design. Like a lawyer charges, the moment you sit there, he puts a timer on any charges.
Yes.
That is what a designer should do. The moment he goes in for a meeting or even before a meeting, there should be a fee. Because you're engaging his time, you're engaging his mind. Now that is still not happened.
Yeah.
That is something that needs to be, all the designers
for
get
all
together.
designers, not time bound.
Yeah. All the designers get together and say, okay, fine. Even before we go for the first meeting, we want this. There are sometimes when I ask for a fee even before I start the designing. So mostly I've started doing that because I realize my time goes in designing, and then afterwards the project comes or doesn't come. But I've done my work. I put my thought process and all that. So I've started doing that now.
But
which doesn't
that you
waste my
can
time.
do like after 40 years.
After 40
so
years,
again, you can't
or
be
if someone
impatient.
you can't be impatient about it. No, you can't be.
So I think, but that's a good idea. Value for design process than just the value
design is
for
very less
doing,
over here. Very, very less. And one the aesthetic sensibilities. I mean, you see the kind of pieces that are being put out in public right now. Those
Some of
fiberglass
them.
dirty sculptures. Most of them everywhere. Those sunflowers and those peacocks on the lampposts and all that. It's terrible. How do we change that? That is the worst thing. And no one listens. There are architecture bodies, there are heritage bodies who try and explain what looks good and what doesn't look, but no one listens. And that's why you see such dirty art in our cities, which is pitiful. It is very sad.
You just mentioned about abroad. So abroad that they respect your sketch. Have you worked with clients abroad as
Yes,
well?
I have. Yes, I have. And there's tremendous respect. Tremendous respect.
So that right difference I wanted to know.
Of course, tremendous. First of all, when they're engaging to you, the kind of respect they have. First of all, they ask, "Will you be able to do this for me?" Here, no one asks you, "Will you be able to do that?" They say, "Okay, I have this job for you." So it's like actually they're asking whether you have the time, whether you have the inclination to work for them, which is such a superb thing because they're not taking it for granted.
Correct.
That you're sitting free and to do their work, And then, of course, you ask for a design fee, you ask for travel allowance, everything and all that. They're willing to give you everything. They treat you with a lot of respect. Here also. But I'm saying in general, the value for design is not there. In general, architects, designers and all that. People think just give it and then we'll decide whether you want to do it or not. Doesn't work like that,
There are also some very DIY artists who are doing it for like maybe 10% of the cost that probably you are doing. So that is like that's also because that's the reason even the value is not
correct. But there the intelligence of the client comes in as to what does he want. He want to replicate something. What I mean, I have been told by clients, okay, you're charging me this much. I know this fellow who can do it in 1/10 the cost.
Yes,
of course he can do it at 1/10 the cost. He's a fabricator. He's a young chap. He doesn't have any value-added expenses to it and all that. It happens, of course. I cannot do it in that way, that cost. Impossible for me,
So, but that's as you said, वो तो client का समझदारी है कि कैसे जाना है.
Yeah, that's what. It's like someone buying an original Nike and someone buying a knockoff. It's like that. The person who's wearing it realizes it. I mean, I mean, it's there. No harm in doing that, but then you be happy with what you've got. Don't ask that main company to make it in that price. Buy that. It's okay. It's all right.
For you, वैसे भी like you just said, financials has never been a
it's never been
concern for you.
No. If I start thinking only of money and all that, my creativity will go for a toss. I go design. I go all out, and then I see what it has cost me. And once you commit to a client, you go all out. There's no. And if something extra is needed, you give it from your side. You don't ask the client that, look, I've now thought of this, now you give me this much extra. That doesn't work. Yeah. So there's a lot of ethics involved. There's a lot of discipline involved in this,
You've done like single-handed exhibitions and all. So, say for example, nowadays we have artists collectives going on, wherein different artists come together and they put up an exhibition. What's your opinion on that?
Oh, perfectly okay. There are so many collaborative shows happening.
A lot of
There are so many group shows happening. I've taken part in group shows.
All right.
Hosted by one gallery or the other. One Delhi gallery, one Calcutta gallery, one some private collections and all that. I've taken part in group shows.
All right.
And I do my solo shows also. So that's okay. Perfectly all right.
So that's perfectly all right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also,
perfectly okay.
so you do recommend these artists who are, just come out to, have this collective
They will
group
have
shows.
to do group shows because who will give them a solo show and which gallery will take them solo right from the beginning. So they have to take part in group
So
shows.
do you have to network with the gallery? Like, how does it
No.
work?
So you find out whether group shows are happening, approach them and then see whether they take it on or not. There's so many
it's
galleries.
the art galleries.
Art galleries are having group
Alright,
shows. Yes,
alright,
yes.
alright. So it's their
And if-
decision whether to go
Correct,
forward.
correct.
with
There's
it.
Bombay Art Society, there's Lalit Kala Academy. Apply over there. Those are government organizations which can take your work. That's how I started.
Alright.
Bombay Art Society, first four, 5 exhibitions, I gave my works. That's how slowly people started knowing. That's how Jangir Art Gallery got to know of me and they gave me my first show in 93, So do all that. It's a
So I
struggle.
think,
You can't reach the top right from the beginning. It's crazy,
But yeah, people are very impatient.
Very impatient. Very
They are like, just right up. Because I know people who are, they've passed out from Rachna Sansad in like, I think 2021, 22 during COVID. And suddenly when they're outside, they're like, there's no work,
Yeah,
what to
yeah,
do,
of course,
ma'am,
it's
any idea
difficult.
where we can do.
Yeah.
And then some artists I know who are even getting into interiors now.
Yeah.
Because they're like, at least there's
Of
money
course,
here,
of course,
fast
of
money
course.
here.
Yeah, do that.
So,
Do that
I
on the
mean,
side. But
yeah.
pursue also. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's...
There are ways and means of doing things. If you want to get around to doing it, you'll get around to doing it.
Correct.
All depends on how badly you want it,
Correct.
Nowadays, people get influenced by hundreds of things around. There is so much information today available at the drop of a hat on your phone that it confuses people. So what I would say is break away from that. Although you need to observe what other artists are doing, observe a little less and try doing your own stuff, experimenting with it, Use your own hands, try things which come out from within you and not from what you've seen and you try to sort of duplicate things and all that,
Oh, I think you've done something like this because you do workshops as well. You
Yes.
teach also.
Yes.
So in your workshops, is this something that you want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
cover?
of course. So I keep on telling them, I say, develop your own style. I mean, although I'm teaching you a technique, it doesn't mean you do exactly what I'm doing there in front of you. You have to develop your own style. So even if I'm doing my doodling classes and all that, I start by telling them to draw lines, but I said, do the lines your way. Don't exactly follow what I'm doing. The composition should be yours.
Correct.
So the design finally is yours. It's not what I'm doing exactly. I'm just teaching you the technique,
Correct.
which is what art should be about. Of course, to learn a technique, for example, to weld, to carve and all that, you need to learn that.
Correct.
But the imagination, the ideas, everything needs to come from somewhere else, from yourself, from what you observe, what you don't observe, what you see, what you feel, everything,
So do you want to just give a brief about what kind of workshops do you have
So
and how people can take part in your
Sure.
workshops?
So I keep on announcing on Instagram. I don't do workshops constantly because I do hundreds of other things and all that, so I don't get time to do that. But I do doodling workshops. I started doing pen and ink doodling workshops on Zoom during the
During
lockdown.
COVID, yeah.
And that grew tremendously. There's a lot of demand for it right now also, but I'm not getting the time to do it. So right now, currently, I'm doing one a month with a gallery, Art and Soul, where we do physical classes there, where I get about 50, 60 students I'm getting per session. Then once in a while, someone approaches me that my kids' vacations are going on. I've got 12 kids. Will you do a workshop for me? So I formulate that. So to me, being approached for something and forming is easier than me sort of forming something and putting it out there, So that planning is very difficult from my side because like I said, the 100 things I do and to sit and to remove that time is difficult. So someone tells me, okay, fine, do you have 1, 2, 3 days? I've got 10 kids coming. Oh, okay, fine. Then it happens immediately,
This is my last question.
Yeah.
What is your vision? Like, do you see yourself going there, reaching a destination, or it's just the process that matters to you?
I think always the process. Always the process. Just keep on working. I don't know. I mean, large pieces, yes, I would love to do more large pieces and all that, but whatever's happening is going well. So it's
Especially
okay.
when you said those public
Yeah, public
sculptures.
spaces and all that. And I want to, I mean, Bombay there's so many traffic islands and all that. Something should happen whereby these dirty fiberglass sculptures don't come up and they get good artists and all that,
Correct. So I think that's your vision.
Yeah.
Basically,
to make Bombay into an art capital, literally. Sort of There are, like I said, there are governing bodies who are responsible for governing the art that comes out on the street, but no one listens. No one listens. It's not strict enough to say, I will not let you put it, or I will remove it if it's this way. So unfortunately, that's why you're getting so much kachara on the streets these days. You know.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having this
Thank
interview
you.
with me,
Thank
and
you.
we are delighted to have you,
Thank you.
on our channel.
Thanks.
Also, you have a beautiful space in here,
Thank you.
so I
Yeah.
really appreciate. I would like to take a moment to appreciate
Yeah,
that
yeah,
as
sure,
well.
sure, please.
Thank you, Arzan sir.
Welcome, welcome.
Yes.